Hi, yeah, it's Jackie here with the LGFA, and we're on a call today in part two of a mini series looking at the integration of young players as they emerge from the underage ranks into adult inter-county setups. In our first show, we spoke to Niamh Crowley from Dublin and also Emily Martin from Down, who also works with the LGFA now. From the players' perspective, now we're going to talk to two very accomplished and high-profile coaches as they discuss this very same topic. Also delighted to be joined by the LGFA's head of coach development, William Harmon, on the call. Top left-hand side of my screen is Declan Quill, who's joint manager with the Kerry seniors, and Caoibhe Sloan, joint manager with Down, is bottom right-hand side of my screen as I look as well. Folks, how are you all doing? All right?
Very good, Jackie. Thank you.
Good. So we're recording this on Halloween. So are you all out trick-or-treating later on, or what's the plan?
Yeah, with three lads now ready to go. They're up since the crack of dawn this morning and they're hyper already without any sweets. So I don't imagine it's going to be like around 8 o'clock tonight. So looking forward to it.
Good. Should be a bit of crack. Caoibhe, I'll come to you first if you don't mind. So we had Emily on in our first show. I'm sure you had a look at that, and in terms of her experience in a squad, and when you have young players coming in, she was one of those once upon a time, and now she's been there for the bones of a decade, and how she can help the integration of young players into a setup like yourselves, a high achieving setup, All-Ireland Junior champions this year as well. Congratulations on that, Caoibhe. So from a coach's perspective, do you rely heavily on your experienced players when you're trying to manage that integration, Caoibhe, or how does that dynamic work?
Yeah, you do, and I think one of the big things is kind of empowering the players and the older players to set that player-led environment, and that culture that you want to see. And I think it was during COVID, I was on a call, William was on doing a podcast or doing something, and they were saying, like, when you get it right, when you hit that sweet spot of where players are leading the culture and the environment, they'll not even recognize nearly the role that the manager has created to facilitate that. And that's what you want. That's ultimately what you're chasing, that, players really feel empowered enough to take control. But in the early sense, we would encourage the kind of positivity. We would encourage the praise and pairing up maybe people like Emily with somebody very young that comes into the squad and saying, in front of the two of them, Emily, I want you to find something really good that she does here today. And then you say to them, do us a favor and do something good, and you're trying to get that kind of thing going. But that doesn't really happen naturally. And even people as confident as the likes of Emily or our older people in the squad, like that we would have, your Natasha Ferris, your Kate McKay, your Megans, your Orla Boyles, people like that are all around this squad a long time. It's not totally natural to compliment, and not for all of them. For some of them it is, but you would kind of go to them and say, we really need you picking these girls up, and really we want them to stay, we want to develop them. We're going to ask them to give it to you in tackle grids, 2v2 or something. We're going to say to them, go hard on this one, or whatever, to the younger player, we want you to shake their hand at the end of it. We want you to say to them, fair play to you, that's what you give here. And for them not to be afraid, kind of, and removing that's what you're here for. You're here to give everything you have, and at the end of it you shake hands. Because that's football, like.
Yeah, absolutely. Dec, can I ask you, as a very accomplished player in your day, very fine footballer, you obviously went from the underage ranks to the senior ranks. Can you relate then, when you see young players coming into your setup now, that how you felt back then to how they might be feeling now, and how you can help them with that transition as well, having been there yourself as a player?
Yeah, definitely. I can always remember the night I went in for a trial with the Kerry seniors. It was just after coming out of minor, and it was a lovely summer's evening, and I just happened to play absolutely brilliantly and in the trial or whatever it was at the time. And I just remember Paddy O'Shea had all the lads around in a circle in Tralee, outside Nostad Park. Actually, the game was on, and he just, without even asking me, did I want to be part of it or anything, he just said, we want to welcome Declan to the setup now. It was absolutely fantastic this evening to see him playing so well, and he's going to be part of it now for the rest of the summer. And I was kind of going, oh, all right, that's unbelievable, because you had lads who won medals in '97, and lads who won medals in 2000, the likes of Morris Fitz, Seamus Mine, and Darragh O'Shea, all those guys in that circle. And I was kind of looking around going, well, it wasn't so long ago I was actually in Hill 16 watching you winning an All-Ireland medal. Now I'm going to be part of it. And it was a huge thing, and you just had to look around the dressing room and the look of the likes of Darragh O'Shea, and kind of how they prepared for training, how they came early, how they looked after their bodies. And it was a huge learning curve for me at that age, and I was only probably 18 and a half, just going on 19 when it happened, you know. So when I see the girls coming that we've maybe have called in for a new season, or maybe halfway through the season, that we want to maybe add to our numbers, add a bit of competition to our squad, and you know, you see them coming and they have the head down and they have the bag over the shoulder, and they don't want to make eye contact with anyone because they don't know whether they should be here or not. I think the initial moments that myself and Darren meet them outside the dressing room door, and you know, welcome to the setup, and kind of shake their hand and kind of look at them in the eye, and maybe tell them something that we know about them, and they're kind of looking at me going, you know, it might be something like, oh, I saw you playing school match there last week or 6 months ago or something like that. I said, geez, you played very well in that match. And they kind of go, what were you doing watching that match? You know, kind of, are you really interested? Were you really that interested in watching me playing? You know, it's something that you can just, small thing that they can relate to you over. And I think that's really important, to just find this little bit of common ground.
The icebreaker right from the start, Deck. Yeah.
Yeah, just an icebreaker. And they're kind of going, well, this guy is not just after asking me, and all of a sudden this is, you know, they've seen me playing. They might have seen me playing with the Kerry minors, and might have been seeing me playing and with my club during the different club championships. And you know, they know something about me. It's not just that I've just been called in, but they've actually watched me and seen me playing. And you know, at that stage, you know, I suppose the ice is broken, and like Caoibhe said there, you're really relying on your senior players then to go in and put a hand around them and welcome them to the Kerry environment. And I suppose it's just from a coach's or manager's point of view, it is very much the environment that I suppose the managers and the management setup have created. You know, I'd have no problem leaving any young girl like that has just come out of minor into our dressing room with the girls that are there at the moment. They are just so welcoming. Like the first person over to shake a new girl's hand would be Louise Niver-Hurtig, you know, followed by Caoimhe Lynch, followed by Lorraine Scanlon, welcome them in and saying best of luck, you know, give this a great go. And like myself and Dara, you know, we don't have to hold their hand going into the dressing room and introduce them to everyone. That happens just naturally between the players, and I think that is really, really important. Like Caoibhe said, that it's you know, it's player led really.
Yeah, you mentioned 3 names there. You mentioned Louise, Cahill, and Lorraine Scanlon. I'd actually 5 names written down, Deck, of players that sprang to mind for me immediately as the more experience of the crew that could be a real assets to you when integrating new players into the setup. I've Louise, Caoimhe Lynch, Aisling O'Connell, Louise Galvin, and Lorraine Scanlon. So it's
yeah,
you know, that's true leadership as well, isn't it, Deck?
Yeah, and you could add plenty more to that. I mean,
absolutely.
Anna Galvin was our captain for a few years. I mean, Anna was just absolutely fantastic girl to give girls lifts to training and to organize lifts and kind of to look after girls when they come in. You know, I suppose, look, another kind of thing I suppose that we would have used is and Dara would be very good to make contact with parents, you know, just before a girl is coming in, especially if she's just coming in out of minor level, that we kind of reassure the parents that, you know, what kind of environment they're coming into, and, you know, I suppose what's expected of them in one way, but then we don't expect a whole pile of them in another way, if you know what I mean. Like we would expect them to train hard and to follow the culture in the dressing room, but you know, we wouldn't be expecting them maybe to make the starting 15 in the first couple of months of their being with us, you know.
Caoibhe, can I ask you as well, just in terms of, and Declan has touched on it then as well. Okay, so these are talented young players that are coming through, right? But they're also coming through into a very, and Declan talks about culture and achievement and that, but they're coming into an environment where, you know, this is serious business. Big things are expected. So to manage the transition in a comfortable way, but while also reminding players that, you know, you're here to do a job. These are your responsibilities. This is what we expect of you. How do you manage that balance without being overly pressurized on the player right from the start, but also letting them know that you're here to do a job for us?
Yeah, well, I suppose it starts with the person more than the player, you know, and as Declan said, it's very much the other players who have been empowered when they first came in to feel comfortable enough and all that, and to sort of give this is the way we do things here, and to kind of share the non-negotiables. You know, nobody meets them and gives them the things that they're not to do or whatever. You know, you're telling them, like, technically we find this from you, tactically, you know, you're pretty astute or whatever, and physically you're well up there, and now we want you to go in and give it everything you have, and you know, go for it. Like, and we would challenge them in small drills to give everything that they have. But yeah, at the same time, I think they learn very quickly, you know, how it's a results driven business too, you know, and that you really do, you need to drive on here. And some of the things we would have done early on in challenge games, the younger ones you might have said, right, you might be playing a part in this, come down if you're a defender, stand down this side, maybe even behind the fence, and, you know, pick out somebody, and at the end of the game tell her something she did well. And that's the younger ones coming along to tell somebody that's maybe 30 years of age, you know, that they did. But what you're actually doing is trying to get them to get really in touch with the tactics of the team, and what the individual player's role is, you know, and you're trying to embed them that way. And by looking at them closely, then maybe, you know, you'd love to have conversations with them, trying to say, like, this is what we're happy with, this is what we're not happy with, or, you know, our kind of non-negotiables there. But there definitely is a wee honeymoon period that a grace that myself and Peter would allow these younger players, where you're really looking at them and saying, like, mistakes are encouraged, like creativity is encouraged, that's what you want from them. You know, and they very quickly kind of see, maybe in your video analysis or maybe in your conversations, that you're saying, like, we don't actually do that here. That's not something we like to see here. You know, we need to step that up or whatever. But Declan was saying there about bringing in players sort of in the middle of the season. We found that last year was the first time we did it. That's the 4 years myself and Peter would be with the girls, 3 and then a year out in last year. But you know, we did that last year for the first time, and the younger players coming in gave everybody a lift. They were going at 100 mile an hour. They were cleaning people. They were, you know, leaving it all out there. And at the end saying, is there anything more I can do? Can I do any more? Coming to you, like, and it made the older players kind of stand up. You know, if you're going 50-50 for a ball and a 16, 17-year-old is racing, hunting down for it, like, everybody's lifting it. So we found it massively beneficial bringing them in. And to the older girls, you might pull those aside and say, you know, give it to them. Give these ones loads, like, give the wee ones loads. And if you're seeing something you don't like, let it come from you first, kind of thing. And the girls did that then without us even encouraging. You know, you have unbelievable leaders there, like Kate McKay, you know, it's been about for a long time, and she would constantly have, you know, an arm round or a stern word, like, and that's what you need. And you know, we would kind of pull them aside, and, you know, in school we do 2 stars and a wish, you know, so we're saying really good things you did, and say, next time you could try this, and then you go, here, that's the second time, you know, could you try this? And I think it's the way you talk to people and knowing your players. Like, everybody's different, you know, people have all different kinds of mindset and all the rest of it, and motivations, and kind of knowing what makes them tick. And as you know, Declan and Darrell know, like, that's something you need to do very quickly. Know who's who, knows what gets them going, and what their kind of motivations are, and is that lined up with where the team is, and then you're driving them on in that sense. So our whole collective goal, and then what's theirs individually, like, that's our kind of thing. And then if we kind of drive them on from that and say, like, what did you want to achieve in your first month with us? What did you want to achieve by these 3 months? You know, we want to go right to the All-Ireland final last year. So did you achieve that? Did you get what you were looking for individually from your own skill set or physically? You know, because a lot of them are, you know, maybe that wee bit developing, you know, they have a wee bit of the journey to go kind of physically. So yeah, you're keeping a close eye, and then of course there'll come a point, you know, there's only so many can come along, and you might come to a point and say, look, will you go back to your club, develop this, and keep a close eye, and, you know, we'll bring you back in, and we'll go from there again, and see where their heads at, and whether they're willing to commit to it. Because, you know, as you all know, it's an attitude game too, you know, and it's a lot of the time attitude over ability, like, that would drive us for young ones.
Okay,
William, I think even with
just
with bringing girls in at mid-season, you know, it not only does it give the more established players a lift, but it frightens the life out of girls that are maybe starting to get comfortable in the panel, maybe, you know, down around maybe number 23, 24, 25, or whatever it might be. And you're next thing, like Caoibhe said, you see this young one come in maybe just after finishing up at the Kerry minors, and they got called in, and she's hounding around and looking for her place on the panel, you know. And, you know, if we do that after the league campaign, or maybe sometimes just after the Munster Championship campaign, you know, it's laid out to everybody that whoever is here training with us right now is available to be picked on our 30 for match day. You know, that you're not here to make up numbers, you're here to actually push hard and try to make that starting 15 or that 30, you know. And because some girls kind of come in maybe and say, I came in very late, I'm halfway through the season there, you know, I probably won't get a chance. But, you know, when you tell them that there's a chance for you here to play, no matter what time you came in with us, you got to go after it, you know.
Absolutely, grab it with both hands. Dick, I'm going to come back to you in a sec on Shifra specifically, because I watched this girl score a hat-trick of goals in the All-Ireland Under-16 final a number of years ago, right? I was at the game, and straight away you know a player is is highly likely to make it. But William, as LGFA head of coach development on the ground, what are you trying to instill into coaches? It's obviously a holistic approach. You know, Caoibhe talks about getting to know the person first. Obviously, there are going to be players that stand out skills wise more than others. But what are the key messages you're trying to get through to coaches to enable them to effectively create the next generation of superstars?
Yeah, John, I'm just writing notes here. So if there's any coach listening to this, I'm writing notes here. So, and I'm going to go after notes to just show you what I'm learning from this. And I suppose even if you're a club coach, the big thing, I think what we always advocate through coach education really is, can you be, I think it was Eamon Ryan, so always said, like, try and be an autonomous, supportive coach. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, so give the players the autonomy to be the best they can be. So like Caoibhe was saying about, you know, setting their goals, and then that supportive coach, like Declan was highlighting about, you know, building that rapport and build that connection. What I liked about what Declan spoke about there was they were the first person that the players met when they came in the gate. You know, the coaches, here we are. How are you? Welcome here. You know, you are part of this. You're good enough to be here. We value you being your presence. You know, build that connection. So I think that's a huge involvement. That can we build that connection with our players, build that rapport, making people feel valued, and they can add something to the setup that they feel. You know what? I actually am. I'm merited. I'm good enough to be here, and I can add something to the setup. So I think coaches bringing that enthusiasm. And I liked also the way you get to know the player and the parent, hugely important in this, shall I say, process, and finding out, you know, more about the player, understanding where they're coming from. So therefore, then you can create the right environment for them to flourish. And I like the way that, you know, another thing that came through was the patience. That some players will come in and they'll take it like ducks of water, no problem at all. They'll off to go, like as Caoibhe was saying, like they'll be in the drills, there'll be no problem. There are other players that might take them a while, like Caoibhe said, that maybe now is not for them, and maybe go back to the club environment and learn and educate themselves and develop themselves even further. But that the door is always open there as well. But I suppose the big thing from all coaches I'm learning here is that getting to know the player, understand who's coming in the gate, and recognizing that, and then I suppose creating an environment for them to feel welcome, feel valued, and feel that, you know what, I belong here. I think that's a huge thing that's coming through from listening to the guys. And I like that area of expectation. Well, what do we expect of you, but also what do you expect from us, you know, and marrying those two, shall I say, to make sure we help players through. But they're just things I'm writing down here, and I'm going, wow, you know. So if there's any coaches to this, I'm writing loads of notes here. So I thanks Declan and Caoibhe for assisting me with that one, like, you know.
Dec, just going back to you, just on someone like, and I don't want to, you know, She's a special talent, but she obviously stood out from a young age, right? She's come through and she's obviously had so many attributes that enabled her not only to progress seamlessly to become an inter-county player, but also to captain her county at such a young age. Not every player is going to be like that, Declan, right? So, and this one is coming to you as well in a second, Caoibhe. So you're both joint managers, right? So you'll bounce things off Dara, Dec, he'll bounce things off you, similar with yourself and Peter, Caoibhe, and just going back to the earlier point that I made, that this is a clinical enough environment that you live in, and Declan and William talks about, you give players time, right, and they might have to come back, or but there might also be a case where you guys feel, I don't think this player is going to cut the mustard. So in that situation, is there a good cop, bad cop? How do you deliver a message which for a young player is difficult to take, Declan, right? So you might say, look, we don't think you're ready right now, go away. We'll keep in touch. We'll look at you with your club, but in the back of your mind, you might be thinking, God, I don't know if this player is going to make it. So how do you deliver that harsh message in a nice way?
Yeah, it is one of the hardest parts of the job. Like that, myself and Dara do find, you know, picking that 15, telling girls that they're not going to be in the starting 15, then picking the 30, and then having to leave girls go from the panel. You know, it can be crushing for girls, you know. And I suppose the one thing, and the lads have mentioned it there, is that, you know, they need to go back and play football straight away, because at times when you're in a Kerry panel and you may not be playing as much as you hope to be playing, and maybe not getting the minutes, then you're getting very, very frustrated. You're missing out on a lot of club football. Your development is suffering. You're actually going backwards as a player. There's probably girls within your club who are probably going to be starting to play better than you, and you're very frustrated with everything. And the call of the club then is kind of, you know, I'm going to get loads of game time here. I'm going to play out every match. And we do encourage that, you know. It's a very hard thing to leave a girl go, especially after maybe 6 or 7 months where they put in a very hard grind over maybe December, January, February, March, you know, and done all the hard work. And then you turn around and say, look, we think you just benefit maybe in going back playing with a bit of club football. The competition will be starting in Kerry and things like that. And, you know, if things come right for you, and it might be a girl who's maybe gone through injury and maybe has to go off and work hard by herself for a while, you know, and we said, look, the door is always open, but you need to get this right. We would give her a few pointers. Like, it might be, look, your fitness is way behind and we're not working on fitness at the moment. So you're going to have to go away and do a month of that for yourself. We'll bring you back in a month's time and see how things are. It might be something based, skill based, and it might be just totally just having to go and play football. You haven't played enough football over the last while. We need you playing more football. You're not going to get the minutes with us because, like you said, it's a cutthroat environment. You know, you want to win your games. You want to give girls experience at the same time, but you know, it's coming to a results-based business now, as you know, and I just find that very, very difficult. I know Dara finds the same, and that is the worst part of the job. It is, and I you know, you'd nearly be heartbroken for them leaving the panel, especially after if they have put in a very, very good effort, but just have fallen short. But you have to reassure them, you know, you have to reassure them that the door is open for you, and you have to give them pointers of where they need to work at, you know.
Yeah.
Caoibhe mentioned attitude. If they have the right attitude, they'll be back to you. If they don't have the right attitude, they won't. You know, they'll go and say, those two guys, they know nothing what they're talking about, and I should be in there. They'll be moaning and groaning about it. Whereas we've had girls that we have taken a time out or have left our setup and have come back within a couple of months or come back started the following season and said, hang on a second, no, I won't be left go too early this time, you know. I think it's very much attitude. But look, the other side of it, when a girl is so young, I think Will mentioned it there, patience. You have to be patient with them. You know, it's a totally new environment for them. Like, when I started with the Kerry job, I suppose you get asked around the town, and how many times do you train? Do you train much? I'm like, the girls train 5 times a week, like, you know, they at least, you know, they're doing their gym session for 3 days on the pitch or whatever. And fellas are looking, you're going, oh yeah, is that serious, is it? You'd be like, yeah, we're an inter-county team, like, you know. So I think when the girls come in at that young age, you have to kind of lay out and say, look, this is what it's about. We're going to be 3 days on the field. You're going to be doing your gym sessions, and then you have to give yourself every single chance to make it. You know, we're not guaranteeing you, and we wouldn't guarantee anybody game time. You know, the only person we guarantee game time is nearly Louise at times. You know, said she's the only one who probably get game time here. Like, you know, everyone else has to fight for it. But you know, young girls especially coming in, they have to realize the environment they're coming into, and especially when you're kind of being successful the last couple of years, like we have, and down this year being All-Ireland champions, you know, it is a really hard environment to get into, and it's a really hard environment to break into. But when you kind of set out in front of them and say this is the commitment level that it takes, then the attitude will either shine or they'll kind of go, no, I'll give it a half-arsed attempt and I won't be around. You know, I suppose, look, we have one very good example of a girl this year, Amy Harrington. You know, she played an awful lot of game time. She's just after coming up from a minor level, an absolute phenomenal athlete, brilliant in the gym, like brilliant at long runs, has a great football brain, has played a lot of minutes for us, came on the All-Ireland final.
Yeah.
But I don't think, apart from maybe one game, I think it was against Cavan, that she might have started, you know. And I think myself and Dara and the other management were like, we need to hold her. We need to hold her. We need to be patient with her. Yes, we could throw her in midfield in an All-Ireland final and she might be okay, but the other side, you could destroy the girl, you know. So we were very patient with a girl like Amy this year, where we were mad to start her in some games and going, oh, I think she's ready. And then the other side, we were going, hold back. We have other girls that are more experienced. We have girls that are, you know, that might do a little bit better. But, you know, I suppose when you're looking at it, you have to be patient and you have to be kind of encouraging, and you have to be kind of, I suppose you have to see the big picture as well, you know, and sometimes we love to throw girls in and say, off you go. But, you know, the kind of cutthroat nature of inter-county football at the moment, the level it's been played at, you could destroy a girl over a couple of games, you know, and her confidence could be shot for years afterwards, you know. So we have to be very careful.
Yeah, I like those words that you're using, Declan. I think they resonate with you too, Caoibhe. And look, there are countless examples of players who have suffered knockbacks and said, right, I'm going to use this as a motivation. They come back and come back stronger than everybody. Mentions patience, encouragement, be careful with them, see the big picture. I mean, that's looking after your player, not only as a player, but as a human as well.
Yep. Yeah, same as that. The same as that. You know, we're very much like, how do we develop that person? You know, how do we get that person to recognize what our non-negotiables are? You know, that you are outlining the things, and you know, we've had similar conversations where people would say, "Would you?" You know, what about if you trained as much as the men? And you're like, you serious? You know, we are, you know, and we're still shocked by that. And, you know, we're very lucky in that we've Mark Poland and Kevin Kiernan in with us, who are former men's footballers, you know, and they're fit to go back to people and say, hold on a wee second, you know, these girls are putting in every bit the same as what, you know, an intercounty men's team is. And like they deserve the kind of respect or whatever. And then that filters down into the players that are coming in. That filters to them to say, like, these are the non-negotiables. These are the things we expect from you. But it'll never come out of the dark. Like, you know, they'll never be like shot by a sniper, so to speak. You know, it'll never be like you're gone. It's we would be talking to them, and not definitely never to destroy them. Say like, this is class about your game. This is brilliant. This is fantastic. Would you work on this? It's something we really want to see from you. You know, and it could be something really simple. And as it's the same as Declan said. You know, is it a physical thing? Is it a technical thing? Like, what is it that you want to develop in that person? And you know that they're very clued into it. And you know, we've had a few girls who they were brilliant, you know, in the league campaign. They were coming in playing bit parts, and one of them, Niamh King, she was the minor captain. She came on and scored the winning point against Wexford in the league for us from a free kick at the last. And you know, to have a 17-year-old kind of doing that is brilliant, but we're very aware, like, Niamh is young, and we have to make sure that we're looking after her and that we're not throwing her out to the sharks, and that when she comes up against people who are physically stronger and, you know, that sort of been around the block that wee bit longer, and you know, we have to see what we have in players like that. And you know, people like Niamh are really bright talents with serious attitudes who are coming to you then the minute the All-Ireland final's over, saying, you know, what do I have to do? What do you need me to do? And like, that inspires us. That got us to get to work straight after and say, right, you know, this is class, like, this is something. And that's what you want, kind of, you know, the young people coming in and giving everybody life. And being very clear, you know, it's a communication business. It's, you know, knowing people and knowing what's going on in their lives, what makes them tick, and you know, their motivations, and allowing people that night, you know, night's grace, or everybody can have an off day or an off night, but you know, the attitude that they bring and the kind of the personality they bring to it is what we're looking for. You know, that they're building their resilience, developing it. You know, is anybody going to be totally and utterly resilient at any point? Well, I don't know, but can you show that you can bounce back? Can you show that you can come back from it? And probably in the early stages of management, myself and Peter, you know, a defeat kind of hit you hard and hit you harder than maybe it does now. Now it's very much practical, and right, what do we do to fix this? What can we do? And you want players doing that too, and starting to look at it. And as Declan said as well, maybe it's that can't be fixed within the senior county setup. Maybe that's something you go back to your club, or you go back and look at things, or building from injury. Kate McKay, for example, she came in. I keep referencing Kate. She was former captain. She's been around. She's the most experienced in our senior team, and she actually broke a bone in her knee in our second league game this year as keeper. But we knew Kate could offer you something outfield as well. She came on in the All-Ireland final. She won the ball from a throw-up that assisted Orla Swale for the goal that undoubtedly won the game. You know, and players like that Kate went back to her club after she hurt her knee. She was still around us. She was still about. She was the arm around the shoulder to many people that came in through the gate. You know, and she was definitely outlining standards, but she went back. She played a couple of games with Kerry Duff. She was flying at midfield for them. She was still there as an option for us to go into goals when we had those issues in nets. And Amy McGivern thankfully stepped up as a former outfield player. And Amy still is an outfield player, but the likes of Kate was able to come back and kind of showing that to the younger ones that that's what's done. That's something that can be really positive, you know, getting that game time and coming in then at 100 mile an hour and saying, you know, I want my spot. I want a spot in this team. And nobody's spot's a given. Nobody is entitled to own a jersey or own a number. So saying like, I want it, and I want to, when I borrow that number, I'm going to do it the best I can. And that's kind of what you want the younger ones feeding off.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yourself and Declan are very similar in a lot of the things that you say, and you know, that example you mentioned of Kate there coming on for that big play. You know, Declan mentioned you were patient with her, you encouraged her along, you saw the bigger picture that she could play a part for you down the line, and you were obviously careful with her in terms of managing her injury. But brilliant stuff, lads. William, I'm going to let you wrap it, because obviously you got Declan and Caoibhe on here some phenomenal insights, two outstanding coaches as well. So, you know, we went down the road at the end of obviously pointing out that it doesn't always work out for players, and they might have to go away and regroup, etc. And I think that's important too. It's not all roses, a bed of roses in an inter-county setup, William, but just your own takeaways from not only this session but the previous session with Niamh and Emily as well.
Yeah, and just there, and I suppose that's a very good point you made. They're 17, 18-year-olds. So the maturity, where are they in their own stage of maturity, in their own stage of development, and recognizing that because she's very good physically on the field of play, it doesn't mean she's going to fit into an adult dressing room. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, or so it's just something to be aware of. And I like that, you know, when you are talking to players in general, but in particular younger players, you know, planning that conversation, having that regular communication, you know, using the right language so that they can, you know, relate to and give them a reason. Like I like that where they were very honest in their appraisal and they were very honest in their feedback. And I think players want just people to be honest with them. So therefore, where can I improve? Because they're so enthusiastic. Okay, maybe it's not going to happen for you now, but come here to me. If you work on X, Y, and Z, maybe in 6-7 months' time, you could be in a different place. So being very honest and giving that specific feedback is very important. But I just think that's very important in terms of that maturity level. Just let's understand they are young players, you know, and that maybe technically, physically, you know, and tactically they might be good, but are they psychosocial in terms of that maturity level? So something just to be gauge on. But I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much, Declan and Caoibhe, and also Emily and Niamh. And if people watch back in these two shows, I'm sure they'll take a few nuggets from, say, the coach will take a few nuggets from these to help them probably with that transitional period and just understand the bigger picture around. It's not just a case of a girl comes in and throw them straight in and hoping it's all going to work out. It doesn't necessarily work out that way. So it's understanding the bigger picture around this, having that patience and that good communication will help, Jackie. That's just what I took from the last two shows. Really insightful stuff. And thanks to Declan Quill and also previously Emily and Niamh with their insight.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks to yourself, William, for facilitating all of this as well and getting the guests on board. Yeah, thanks to Niamh Crowley and Emily Martin for show one, Declan Quill, Caoibhe Sloan, and your good self, William, as well, head of coach development with the LGFA. Folks, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your Halloween.
Thanks, lads. Thank you.